Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma Gato, the cat that hands you your desperation back. And to my left over here is the main mini Nero, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, running spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit. And with that, let's get right into it. Listen, when I saw this, I had to go on and post about it. There was no way that I was going to let Dana White live this one down. Listen, this man posted up, gave an interview, and he said, listen, fans, any fan, in reality, one fan, but he said any fan has a chance to make 25 grand if you find all the Easter eggs. So essentially, there's going to be Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the fight card, apparently. And if you find them all, you have a chance to win 25 grand. Now, why did I make fun of this? Listen, this man is essentially trying to buy views. Because, again, one fan is going to win that 25 grand if they find all of the Easter eggs, whatever the Easter eggs are going to be. So the idea is, hey, if we get enough people to order the pay-per-view and watch it because they think they're going to win 25 grand, maybe we'll get more buys. It's been well documented that they're having a hard time with this pay-per-view. Not just in selling the pay-per-view itself, but in filling the arena. We all saw that tickets were going for like $5 grand a piece. I think the cheapest one were like $3 grand a piece. Well, those $3 grand as of 2 weeks ago were down to $800. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still a ticket. That's still a lot of money for some tickets. Literally in the back, like way back, like the way worst seats you could think of. So yes, that's still expensive. But regardless, a decrease of more than 50%, more than 50% is an intense thing to really have to live through. And let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. Dana White, and to, I would say, like a bigger degree, really, Turki Al-Sheikh, try to go up against Canelo on his date, to essentially take it away from him because there's a lot of money. Canelo has a lot of viewership, so it stands to say there's a lot of money on those dates. Here's the problem with that. Dana White tried to say, I picked the date, months way before Canelo announced. But my guy, you knew that was his date. The only reason that Dana White is sweet-talking Canelo in any way, shape, or form is because, let's keep it a buck, he wants to do business with Canelo. It's very well known that McGregor still has 2 fights left on his UFC contract. If maybe, Dana White can maybe work something in where Canelo fights McGregor, Dana White stands to make a good amount of money for the UFC. Now, with that being said, let's call this what it is. It is desperation. You try to take out the king, and it ain't going so well. Your tickets ain't selling good. Now, listen, I don't know if on the night of it's going to do just as good or maybe not as good or it's going to bring Canelo's numbers down. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But I will say this. Many people have reported at the very least that the UFC is 20 million in the hole and counting regarding their pay-per-view for UFC Noche. And here's the thing. The way that Dana has been building up these cards, he's been building them up like every card that comes next is going to be the biggest card ever and the biggest card ever and the biggest card ever. We all know about the UFC 300 debacle where he was literally fighting until the last minute where Alex Pereira came in and saved his butt fighting Jamal Hill. But let's be honest, none of us thought Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill was bigger than, every other UFC ever, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that Dana White is running out of tactics. There's constantly this, this is going to be the best one. This is going to be the best one. This is going to be the best one. And they're just not turning out that way. In fact, minus a few pay-per-views, to be fair, they've not been doing as well. Obviously Dana White as the promoter is going to spin it like it is. But listen, this move of let me pay any fan, again, one fan is what he's not telling you. You guys 25 grand, all you got to do is buy the pay-per-view. And listen, we looked up the pay-per-view because we're going to have it on. We're also going to have the Canelo fight on, but we're going to have the UFC pay-per-view on. It's $80. And listen, given his pay-per-view used to be $65, given it went up to 70 and then 75 and now we're at 80, you can definitely tell that the UFC, and maybe more specifically Dana White, is having a harder and harder time making that price tag feasible for people. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Someone ran the math the other day, and if you wanted to have the ESPN pass to be able to watch like all of the fight nights and stuff like that, I think it came up to like $140. That's not counting the pay-per-views. That's not counting stuff like UFC Noche. So I remember someone running up the numbers, and it came up to something insane. And keep in mind, that's just to watch just the UFC. That's not to watch any boxing. That's not to watch any other matches that you want to watch with the other ESPN ticket items. That's just UFC. So to be a true UFC fan and watch everything, you have to run up an insane amount of money. Dana White is getting desperate. This in particular, finding Easter eggs in the card to potentially win 25 if you find them all. The fact that he's trying to pull out all of these different tricks and tactics to potentially get more money, to potentially get more numbers than Canelo, it's sad. I think it screams of desperation. And I think maybe Dana White should stick to other dates until Canelo retires. And then when Canelo retires, hey, man, those dates are up for grabs. What do you think about that, my man?
Look, man, the Sphere was already getting kind of controversy, not just for the pricing, but I don't know if you saw, but there was leaked prices for the drink menu at the Sphere. Yo, you know beer's $18? For a beer, dog. And remember, the last time that we went, for context, we went to a boxing event here in Phoenix. The beer prices there, I can attest to because I'm the one that paid for them. They were about $12. Again, pretty pricey for a beer, but at the very least, 12 is nowhere near 19. If it's $19 for one beer, that better be the best beer I have ever had. And I can tell you, any beer is not worth $19. Not nowhere near $19. So already the pricing of the seating and the pricing of the concessions alone is already going to make people look twice before they even, no, 3 times before they even like think about going to the UFC at the Sphere. Now, as far as this Easter egg thing, look, it's insulting the intelligence of the hardcore audience, the casual audience, and let's be real, it's insulting his own workers. If you don't believe me, think about this for 1 second. His claim that he picked his date serendipitously, even though Canelo has been known to fight 2 specific dates for like 5 years now. It's been like common knowledge. And he happened to land on the one. And he happened to have it Latin themed on this specific day of all fight days. And he was like, "Well, I didn't know Canelo was fighting on the same day." I was like, "Dog, for fight fans, and you know it's because you yourself are a bit of a fight fan yourself, it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge. It's insulting for you to assert that you didn't know. It was just coincidence. I didn't know he was fighting today. What an odd coincidence." And it's insulting to the casual audience because the fact that you're willing to do a ridiculous gimmick as a sweepstakes in order to sell ticket prices when your own shows, whether again they're at the Sphere for $800 a seat for cheap seats, and again, 800 cheap seats, or $80 when they used to be 65, and you have a chance to win 25 G's, is already insulted because you think that they're okay for this one time. We're just gonna do it, but hey, there's a chance for you to win if you find our arbitrary rules. And the last thing, and that thing is the most crucial point here. It's insulting to the people that are working on your card. The very people that made you who you are, that you have to rely on this entire card. You're insulting them because think about this for 1 second. Let me put you a scenario real quick. Imagine you were a hardcore martial artist. Pick any practice whatsoever. You train basically all your life. Put yourself through anguish of training camps. The anxiety of actually making it to the fight, making sure you don't get injured, your dietary, your flight travel, all of that, all the monetary stress, the emotional burden. You finally get here, right? And there have been numerous fighters that they don't want to admit to it, but like Michael Bisping, Darren Till, even famous fighters from way back in the day, like Mark Kerr, that says no matter what, it's the same thing every single time. I get here, it's the day of the fight, and I'm puking because I am so nervous I want to cry. All this emotional turmoil. You get here and you have the chance to vie for 50 G's if you do so phenomenally well that you believe that you deserve 50 G's as your prize. Somebody happens to tune in, finds arbitrary Easter eggs, and gets half of your money. Isn't that insulting? Wouldn't you be mad as a fighter? Somebody working for the company that said on a whim, this person that found these Easter eggs and got half of your prize money that you worked hard for, that you put your blood, sweat, and tears and months of your time. And somebody on a whim got half of that just like that. You wouldn't, as a fighter, be insulted. I'm mad insulted right now, and I'm not even a fighter. I'm not even a fighter. And look, I'm not mad if somebody gets 25 G's out of nowhere for doing some arbitrary sweepstakes. I'm not mad at that. If anybody wants to get their money, do you. But if I was a fighter for the UFC and I was struggling making all this money and all these claims of Dana White struggling to pay his fighters and saying, no, the structure is what it is. And then he pulls this, I was like, oh yeah, we can get 25K to some random person. My thing thinking about this is, so you do have the money then. And yeah, you might think, okay, well, you're not a fighter. Why do you care? I was like, I care because personally, the people that I want to tune in for and I want to see on a Saturday night, I want to at least sit there and think, at the end of the day, when they have all their emotional turmoil, the financial troubles that they had along the way, and they finally get here, and they actually do achieve in all this, I at least want to know that they've been well paid off. Because all these complaints of MMA fighters going over to boxing, I was like, why are you going to boxing? I was like, dog, they pay more. You want to stop all the MMA fighters going into boxing? Pay them more. And that's the crux of all this that bothers me.
Listen, man, funny little note here. So a few weeks back, I got an ad on my phone, probably because I was talking about UFC, where it said, oh, $5 off your purchase of UFC. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I usually don't order the fight until the day of, just because, I'm already here. We're getting ready. We're, tuning in. So I'm like, there's no point until ordering it until the day of. It's funny. A couple of days ago, $10 off, your pay-per-view, UFC pay-per-views. My thing is like, dog, like, it's to me, it screams desperation. Because if you're already saying, $5 off, a few weeks ago, and then I still haven't bought it, $10 off. And now this, 25 G's if you happen to find all the Easter eggs. And you got to tune in, though. You got to tune in. It just screams desperation, man. Listen, again, I'll put this all at the feet of Dana White. Don't get me wrong. Dana White has said that he believes that ESPN is messing up the pay structure, essentially because they paid the UFC a large amount to be the exclusive, proprietor, the ones that, host the fight. So they got to make their money back somehow, which, the pay-per-views did start going up after ESPN took it. Fair. That being said, listen, Dana White is he's running out of a large talent pool of fighters are considering retirement. Gilbert Burns, Masvidal's already retired. Nate Diaz is basically in retirement. Dustin Poirier saying he's going to fight one last time. A lot of people that were big names, McGregor, a lot of people, Max Holloway, a lot of people that are big names are on the cusp of retirement. They're at least eyeing the exit of retirement. So Dana White's running out of the firepower that he used to have. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm no fan of Dana White. I think the man and the company underpay their fighters, much like my man here said. It is insulting that you can give me a random watcher 25 G's, but you can't give your other fighters a good 25 G's. It's insulting, man. That being said, listen, desperation. Desperation is what this is. I don't care what anybody says. Dana White is getting desperate to make this pay-per-view as good as it's going to be. Listen, this is one thing that people don't think about. So people like Sean O'Malley get pay-per-view points because they are champions. If you're going up against the pay-per-view king of this era, Canelo, on the exact same date, what does that mean? That means less pay-per-view buys for your pay-per-view. Essentially means you're paying people like Sean O'Malley less money. So you see, he's screwing over his people all around. Because why? Because Turki Al-Sheikh has a grudge against Canelo? Because he wants to buy him? Turki wants to buy Canelo. Canelo said, back up the Brinks truck or nah. Why take this big ass L's for no reason? Why cause your fighters L's for no reason? It's a whole bunch of stuff, man. It screams desperation. I think they're really doing the fighters dirty. And I think it's embarrassing as hell for Dana White. But with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.